Hey guys, I wanted to make a video quickly about the Imperium thumbnails this year because I think they're really interesting and I haven't really heard that many people talking about them, and I have a couple theories about why they look the way they do, so just wanted to tell you real quick and see if any of them are any good. I'm going to go in order from what I think is the least likely to most likely, but I'm not 100% sure on any of these. You can let me know what you think in the comments. I had an issue where they were disabled, but I fixed it and it's all good now, so let's go. So our first and, in my opinion, least likely theory is actually the first one I came up with, which I'm going to call the puzzle piece theory. So when the first few videos started releasing, I had initially assumed that all of them were going to have the same thumbnail. Eric released these little previews in the style of the thumbnails, and I kind of assumed he was just going to use those repeatedly, and that ended up not being the case. So I have a couple things to say about this. Firstly, each of these thumbnails is their own individual image, which I do think is a notable choice because they are all in the same style, so they're pretty similar, but they're not the same. And secondly, to go with that, each one seems to represent, in a vague way, what is going on in the video. So, for example, in the second video, which is the freelancer one, there's this repeated motif of, it vaguely looks like two hands reaching out for each other. And there are two hands reaching out for each other also in the third video. And there are a lot of ways you can interpret that, but point is, they are not the same picture every time. So I got thinking, well, why would Eric make so many individual thumbnails that are in such a similar style that a lot of people wouldn't even acknowledge that they're not the same image? And my answer for that with this theory is that these thumbnails, as the series goes on, are going to go together in a type of puzzle, where if you place them in a certain way, it will reveal a wider image. Do I think this is very likely? No. I thought this when the second video came out, but ever since then, I've become less and less of a fan of this theory, especially with the second video's thumbnail being a repeated motif. There's three of the same things, side to side. I don't know how to explain it. It's on screen. But point is, I just don't think this is a very likely theory. Do I think it would be cool? Yes. Do I think it's the intention or what this is actually meant to be? No. So my next two theories I actually really like, and I don't know what order to put them in, so I'm just going to do it like this, and hopefully one of them will be right, because I'm attached to both of these a lot. So my second theory is this could represent one of two things. Firstly, I'm going to be talking about the meridian, and I do think this is probably the more likely of the two. We know the meridian is going to fall probably on Halloween. We know it's going to happen. It's inevitable at this point. Echo basically told us that. And also, we don't really know anything about what the meridian looks like in the first place. The only thing we've ever heard about it is from a viewer, where he says that the parts of the dreamscape, I'm going to call it that aren't fully formed are, quote, blacker than black, as in infinitely dark. And that isn't really a good representation of what the meridian looks like, because that's less of, oh, you can actually see the meridian here, because they aren't really seeing anything, they're kind of in a dreamscape. It's more of, oh, Blake the bastard didn't think anything up for this section, so it's empty. So I don't think that's a very good explanation of what the meridian looks like at all. And also, when the meridian breaks, Ara and Tara are going to fuse with each other, which I assume is probably going to be a very colorful process. So, point is, I think it would be really cool if these thumbnails were meant to represent that happening, because that would be cool as shit, being we know basically nothing about the meridian, and I am just dying for scraps of lore about that thing. The second half of this theory is one I kind of came up with right now, and I'm just going to tack on to the end. It could also be really neat if these thumbnails are somehow supposed to represent people's magical cores. Are they called cores? I have not thought about this in so long. But with the context of the second and third video, especially the third one, this hand motif would really make sense if you consider that to be David's death. I don't really know what else to say about that. So I'm just gonna move on. My last theory, this one's really cool and it might be my favorite, so that's why I'm gonna say it's the most likely one. So Eric's channel has a pretty consistent theme, and that is cassette tapes. You know, you click on a video, there's the little cassette with the thumbnail, and that is cassette tapes. You know, you click on a video, there's the little cassette with the thumbnail and all the tracks and all that. But when I was looking at these thumbnails, they actually reminded me a lot of burnt film, like the aesthetic of burnt film. I'll put some on the screen, but it really like invoked that image to me. And it brought a very funny thought into my head that the Imperium was just Echo, like, burning the tape in the cassette of the Prime universe, which I think is very silly. And I also think it would be a pretty cool design choice. And also semi-related, this repeated pattern here, design choice. And also semi-related, this repeated pattern here with this second video also makes me think of a corrupted file, which kind of makes sense if you think about how the Imperium started last year, where we had that whole fake out with the video loading and buffering. So I think that's super cool. Hey, editing me here. So I forgot to mention that all of the thumbnails we've seen so far have the, I don't know what it's called, the spinning part of the cassette tape show on them. So on the first and second one, it's pretty clear. But the third one is more blurred, and also the angle is different. It's like the cassette is tilted diagonally. So if these thumbnails are meant to represent the meridian, then that kind of makes sense as it becomes more and more wore down throughout the event. So just wanted to bring that up quickly. And those are my 3 theories. I really hope you liked them. I am a big fan of them myself. I think they're actually pretty fun. Let me know what you think of them in the comments, and I'm actually planning to release another video very soon. I had a whole thing recorded, and it ended up getting scrapped, unfortunately, because it was too long for me to make visuals for. So I'm going to make a little Imperium halfway point video after the 4th one comes out, and I get to, sit with it. So I'll see you then, and I hope you have a good day. Bye!